Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. And just a quick and short reminder about my other channel, LG Classics, only stories and updates, to give them a second wind. If you're curious, the link is in the description. Now let's get started. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user Deleted. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband this has nothing to do with you? I, 27 female, and my husband, 27 male, just had an argument, if you could call it that. So, my brother just got a job and it's great, except he just got thrown into single fatherhood immediately after. He has a daughter, my niece, who is about 6 months old and has no one to babysit her while he works as the mother suddenly isn't in the picture. He called me asking if I could watch the baby during the week while he works, only for a few weeks since he knows I am a stay-at-home mom myself. I would have said yes, but I can't. I am pregnant and have 2 young kids of my own, one of which does school from home and I have to do it with her, which we are still getting the hang of because we just moved. By the time I'd be prepared for that, he wouldn't need that help anymore. He understood and asked if I knew anyone personally who could help because he was out of people to ask and wanted to try and avoid daycare as he didn't trust it. He said he would pay and cover everything, but he just urgently needed someone and I said I'd ask around. I don't really have friends and I don't know many people in general as I'm very introverted. But my sister-in-law, 25, lives with us and was just telling me how she needed a job and needed money. So I proposed the idea to her. She immediately agreed and so I put her and my brother in a group chat to talk. I also brought my brother over to the house to have a face-to-face talk about it with her. Now, they're not strangers of course, they've met before and all, so it wasn't awkward. So, they talked about the baby, what was needed, etc. My brother didn't have a long-term plan mapped out right then, since everything was so abrupt, but my sister-in-law was understanding and said she'd be okay with whatever, and that was that. I'm not sure of other details as they text on their own, and it isn't really my deal, it was up to them. Ultimately, it came down to my brother Ubering my sister-in-law to his house early in the morning and then dropping her off at home and seeing how things go, which she agreed to. Everything seemed fine until the day of. My husband came into our room and blindsided me with all these complaints on her behalf. He said my sister-in-law had not eaten since the morning. He also complained that she wasn't comfortable and she was tired and that she didn't even need to be there because other people were home and could have watched the baby and that they only gave her $100, etc. I was confused because I spoke to my sister-in-law while she was there to check on her and she said everything was fine. So I told him she didn't say any of those things to me and I asked her and she said she wasn't complaining to him. I said to my husband bluntly, so she is not complaining, you are complaining for her, and he said yes. I told him I was confused because he was throwing it all on me as if it's my responsibility and that sister-in-law and my brother are 2 adults who made their own deal. That was up to her and she agreed to it. Nobody was forcing her. If she was uncomfortable or anything, all she had to do was say it. He continued to repeat the complaints and said, "Do I have to get involved?" I told him the deal doesn't involve him or me for that matter, and I don't understand why he's the only one upset here when it has nothing to do with him. They are adults. He told me he can't even have a conversation with me and left the room. I'm genuinely confused. Am I missing something here? My sister-in-law is also confused as to why he even got worked up to begin with. Am I the a-hole? No, Opie, you're not the a-hole and this is very weird. What's up with your husband? Maybe, and this is a huge assumption, thinks that your sister is gonna end up with your brother and he doesn't like it and that's why he just wants to tear this whole thing down, but he has no idea how to do it because his sister's not complaining at all. He's just uncomfortable with what could happen. That's my assumption because honestly, this makes absolutely no sense. However, to cut it from the root, I'd say the four of you get together and your brother and his sister tell him to butt out. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Friendly Ask says, "This is weird as F to me. Why is he so concerned about his sister? She needed a job, you got her one. If she worked for a regular employer, would he call her boss and complain for her? What's he expect his pregnant wife to do? I don't know, man. Crap's weird to me. Do I need to get involved? No, you need to cut the cord, you weirdo." And Opie responds, "Yeah, I mean, he threw it at me like trying to make it seem like I don't care about my sister-in-law or like something was my fault that I needed to correct, but he was the only one upset. My sister-in-law says she never complained, so I just don't get why I'm the bad guy in this argument." I flat out asked him, "What is it that you want? What do you want to happen?" And he said, "It's not about what I want." I said, "But you're the only one complaining." And he got mad, trying to make it seem like I'm being inconsiderate. I'm so confused, and I wasn't even rude about it. Outside Gur 1796 says, "Not the a-hole. They are both grown adults and coordinated this together. All you did was get them in contact. Your husband is obviously a protective and good brother, but he said, she said always gets messy, especially with family, and it's best if the sister-in-law and your brother just hash it out. The most I would do in your position is go to your sister-in-law and be like, 'Hey, husband said you were upset about the babysitting situation. Do you want my help formulating a text to send to my brother?' It asked offering help, but also making it clear she will be the one to have the conversation." And Opie responds, "I did this and she was confused, saying she didn't complain and that everything was fine. I don't really know what his problem is. I figured outsiders might see something I don't. I don't know." Crying emojis. And Famine Some Number says, "It seems as though your husband didn't want your sister-in-law to take care of your brother's child, as he basically admitted to complaining for her even though she never complained. And for him to just get involved even when nobody asked him to makes it all the more factual that he didn't want her taking care of your brother's child. Could also imply that your husband was just trying to cause a fuss, as he was the first one to say, 'Can't even have a conversation,' when in reality it should have been the other way, as he was the one complaining and not you. Either way, you are definitely not the a-hole, because it was just so random of him to start complaining when it literally did not involve him at all." Additional information from Opie's comments. "My husband has no issues with my brother. That would confuse me even more. We moved to our new house about a week ago, and my brother is the one who helped my husband and I move. They loaded and moved all the furniture and everything together, just the two of them, zero beef. He even gave my brother an extra few bucks to thank him for helping out. I just don't get it. For context, sister-in-law was in an abusive space before and had nowhere to go, so we of course took her in. She and I are super close, so it was really no issue with me. I just don't know why he randomly started this mess when it didn't even involve him." I'm not saying he can't feel protective over his sister. It's just that they both said to me that she had no complaints, and she was confused why he was making a fuss, and he threw it at me as if I was at fault or something, or supposed to do something. Additionally, she does not handle any childcare for our children, only in emergencies or something when we have to have her watch them, but even when that happens, we do pay her. Anyway, when I spoke to her, she said she didn't complain and that she's still going to do it. Alright, well, it sounds the community is just as confused as everyone else. However, OP has given us 2 updates, so let's move on with the first one to see what happened next. So, since I spoke with sister-in-law and husband separately and got nowhere, I finally got a chance to sit them down together. I was calm and respectful the entire time. I flat out said, okay, so in regards to the babysitting gig, what's going on? What issues are there and where are they coming from? Husband made a scoffing sound and looked annoyed but didn't speak up. So I turned to my sister-in-law and asked her bluntly, do you have any complaints, concerns, or problems with the arrangement you and my brother made for the babysitting? She said, absolutely not. I asked her, Are you sure? Did you say anything to husband that says otherwise? It's completely fine if you did, but you have to speak up for yourself and talk about it, even to me if not my brother. She said, I honestly have no issues and didn't complain to anybody, I swear. Then we looked at my husband. She told him that she was fine with the arrangements and had no complaints. Then she asked him why he made a scene for no reason. He got defensive and said, nobody said you were complaining, it just doesn't make sense to me. There's no point in you doing it and it's not convenient. Are you even getting paid good? I sat there trying to understand why he was getting so defensive, and sister-in-law shot back at him telling him it wasn't his business and it didn't have to make sense to him, echoing exactly what the FI said in the first place, and it had nothing to do with him, and that she didn't appreciate him doing this without a good reason. He said he does have a reason, and when we asked what that reason was, he said, because it doesn't make sense to me. I calmly asked him which part didn't make sense to him and why he was so bothered by it when it does not affect his or our daily life in any way, that it didn't have to make sense to him because it isn't his arrangement, and he got angry. He stood up from his seat, rambling something about how we were ganging up on him and that we weren't going to make him the bad guy and that nobody listens. Me and sister-in-law just looked at him while he rambled, and she was just as lost as me. I, still very calm, asked him what he wanted out of this and why he kept trying to involve himself when sister-in-law clearly said she is happy with the agreement. He said, nobody effing uses their brain around here but me, I guess, and walked out. I don't know about y'all, but I'm no ass kisser, and I definitely wasn't about to chase after him or baby him. He was being completely ridiculous in my opinion. So we let him go, and that was that. About an hour later, he came back and started saying things under his breath like, my own wife just let me walk out, and she doesn't even care about me, and it's just F me, I guess, I just don't matter, while sighing and dragging it out. I ignored all of it because grow up, dude, and he came into the room and said, so you have nothing to say to me? And I was like, nope, we tried to address things and you decided to storm off, so that's that. I think you're being dramatic and that's a you problem. He then called me inconsiderate and selfish and left. Well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do there or what he's expecting, but shut face, that's the update, guys. Wow, at this point, I'm kind of thinking maybe there's something behind his, behavior, like maybe a B12 deficiency or something like that. I don't know. It just sounds so odd. Anyways, let's move on to the final update to see how this story ends. Hello once again. I know a lot of you were wanting to know what's happened. With all the support from you guys, I feel I do owe you that. Things have happened, and I needed time to be alone and gather myself and process. My husband kept on with the attitude, the side comments under his breath, and just being weird. I gave no reactions and ignored it because I got better things to give my energy to, like my pregnancy and my 2 children. Anyway, I was cleaning and my husband decided to confront me and ask me why I'm acting this way. I asked him what he meant, and he said I'm being a way towards him, and I simply told him I abso-effing-lutely will not coddle him for an attitude that doesn't make sense for him to have. He got upset, rambling something about how as his wife it should matter to me that he's upset, and I said I have done nothing to him and I gave him chances to explain what was wrong and he didn't, so it's not my responsibility to fix whatever it is. He said this was all my fault, and I asked him, what is my fault? I've done nothing but take care of our kids and our home as well as him. I told him that he made no sense, that nobody did anything to me, not my brother, not sister-in-law, no one. That I wasn't going to deal with his attitude at all, and that he could find somewhere else to stay if he wasn't gonna cut it out. He sat down and said, that's what I'm talking about, saying that my lack of giving a crap and my no-nonsense attitude is upsetting to him. I asked him why would I be wanting to put up with BS, especially while pregnant, and why would that bother him? He started all this drama over something that had nothing to do with him, and then it came. He took a deep breath and broke down with confession after confession. He admitted he had an affair. He admitted that he installed a camera in our home without telling me in hopes I'd do something stupid so he could use it as defense, and that he'd figured out the woman he cheated with knew my brother, which is why he freaked out about sister-in-law working for him. He admitted he started drama to create an argument on purpose to give him a reason to feel justified, and my calm reactions for everything made that impossible for him. It bothered him that I never did anything wrong because he had done something wrong and couldn't shift blame. I could barely react. I kind of just looked at him. My stomach was hurting. I just couldn't wrap my brain around any of it. He told me he was sorry, that he's a piece of crap. Yeah, he's right about that. And he doesn't know why he did it. That he loves me, tearing himself down, and I just told him to stop talking. I calmly said to remove whatever camera he installed and to find somewhere else to stay. He cried and begged, and I shut it down. He asked if I was going to tell sister-in-law. What? You're worried about me telling people or what other people are going to think of you instead of worrying about the effing damage you've just done to our family? He left but wouldn't stop calling me, trying to talk. Suddenly, he wants to have a conversation. Huh, how funny. I put my phone on silent and went to play with the kids, trying to be normal to shield them from it. I didn't want them to see me upset. I was broken up on the inside. Had a scare. I kept having sharp pain in my stomach and then I started to bleed. I was effing terrified. I thought I'd lost the baby. My family helped me out. I got to the hospital. Baby is okay. I guess it was just the stress, being too much. After everything settled, I got home, put my kids to bed, and cried it out. We've been together since we were like 15. I've never cheated on him, ever. We're approaching 30. Like, what type of crap is that? I've never had a trust issue with him before. I'm not a phone snooper. I just don't do things like that. And I didn't have a reason to think he's never behaved like this before. Maybe he has cheated before and I just don't know about it. I don't even care to know. One time is enough for me. I want divorce. I will be fair about it. I will not turn our children against him. I won't drag it, but I am done. Thanks for listening, guys. Wow, Opie, this took me everywhere, but the conclusion is, what a weak man. And I'm talking specifically about your husband, but of course the modus operandi is just weak-ass people. Making your life hell because he couldn't find a way to avoid accountability? I am sorry that you have to go through this crap, Opie, but I have to say, you cutting it out and just going like, I'm done with this thing, good for you, Opie. You're doing the right thing. So on that note, here's wishing you the best in the future. Thanks so much for sharing and take care. And now let's finish this video with a mood booster post. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user Rear Engineer. Project manager said, if it's a problem, the pressure test will catch it. Alright then, let's find out. Back when I was a junior engineer, I was working with a piping contractor supporting a gas plant project that was in the final stretch before commissioning. We were under intense pressure to hit deadlines and everyone was feeling the heat. One of my responsibilities was reviewing materials before installation. It has the basic quality control to make sure we weren't about to install something that would bite us later. Then the pipes arrived. These were large diameter high pressure pipes for a critical gas line. But the moment I saw them, I knew something was off. The mill markings didn't match the material certificates and some of the weld seams looked rough. When we took a closer look, we found surface defects and laminations at the bevel, classic signs of poor quality steel from a dodgy mill. I flagged it immediately. My lead engineer took one look and agreed these pipes weren't fit for purpose. We raised it with the project manager, expecting him to do the obvious thing. That is, to reject the batch and order replacements from an approved supplier. But this project manager wasn't like most project managers. He wasn't an engineer, had a Bachelor of Commerce and had landed the job thanks to his uncle, a senior executive. He had zero technical knowledge and didn't care to learn. To him, just another job to push through quickly to up his bonus, and rejecting the pipes would cause delays, something he was desperate to avoid since it would probably affect his bonus. His response? The supplier says they meet spec, so they meet spec. Just install them and move on. I pushed back, explaining that if these pipes failed under pressure, we were looking at a major incident. He just waved me off. Just get it done. If it's a problem, the pressure test will catch it. All right, mate, let's see how that goes. The pipes were installed as is, and we moved on to pressure testing. I stood back and watched. As we ramped up the pressure, the pipe's weld seam split wide open and ruptured the pipe. The force of the failure sent a shockwave through the system, and a few of the pipe's supports even bent. The pressure test failed spectacularly. Now, instead of a minor delay to replace the pipes before installation, we had a catastrophic failure that shut down work for weeks. The entire line had to be cut out, re-welded, and retested. The supplier was blacklisted, and an internal investigation was launched into how the pipes had been approved in the first place. We were also made by the client to bear the cost of rework. As expected, the project manager tried to shift the blame. But my lead engineer simply pulled out the email chain where he had clearly raised the defect concerns. Management didn't take long to connect the dots. The project manager was taken off the project immediately and was sacked a month later following initial investigation results, and even his uncle couldn't save him. Never saw him again after that, and the last I heard, he decided to pursue a career outside of the industry. And there you have it. Once again, nepotism working at his finest. I guess he lost his bonus, didn't he? Thanks for sharing, OP. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.